I know how disappointed you feel because I feel it too. And so do tens of millions of Americans who invested their hopes and dreams in this effort. This is painful, and it will be for a long time. But I want you to remember this. Our campaign was never about one person or even one election. It was about the country we love and about building an America that's hopeful, inclusive, and big-hearted. And to all the women, and especially the young women, who put their faith in this campaign and in me, I want you to know that nothing has made me prouder than to be your champion.
53 past the hour. That was Hillary Clinton giving her 2016 concession speech after losing the presidency to Donald Trump. That election and the 4 years of the Trump administration that followed were the catalyst of a new wave of women leaders in the country. And reporter Dahlia Lithwick profiles some of those women in her new book entitled Lady Justice, Women, the Law, and the Battle to Save America. And Dahlia joins us now. Dahlia, I love this because it is always women who are like, you know what, forget it. I'll just do it myself. In times of crisis and frustration for this country. Talk about why you decided to write this book and who you decided to write about.
I think I wanted to write some kind of triumphal story about the Trump era because it's too easy, particularly now because the Trump era seemingly never ends, to say, no, actually, it could have been much, much worse. And it wasn't much, much worse because a whole bunch of women unerringly, I want to be clear, there were men too, but a whole bunch of women just turned on a dime, changed their lives, and used the law and the power of the law to enforce basic laws, constitutional rights, freedom, and dignity for women. So I think I wanted to both celebrate them because some of them worked in near obscurity, but I also wanted to use it as a blueprint going forward for how we can't give up on the law because the law is kind of the only thing we have left.
Well, and also for women, it's so important to remind them, don't give up on your own voice, being a part of the process, whether it be, protesting on the streets and making sure your voice is heard in any way. And you think about the pink hats after Trump's win, the massive, massive gatherings across the country, which did translate. The question was going to be if it would translate into votes.
That's right. And I think one of the things I wanted to do with this book is open, as you say, with Hillary Clinton and crowds chanting at Trump rallies, lock her up, lock her up. And the book closes with Dobbs at the end of June, where we are now seeing women quite literally in Alabama in jail, in Oklahoma in jail for fetal endangerment, for using drugs during pregnancy, women who are being forced to carry to term when it will endanger their lives. And so we've actually come in a really compressed amount of time, Mika, to a moment where lock her up isn't just about Hillary Clinton, it's about all women. And I think that women understand that in a way that maybe they didn't understand in 2016, that this rule of law thing can both lift us up and make us free. It can also be weaponized against us. And I think you're right. I think what we're seeing in Kansas and Michigan, in Alaska, what we're seeing in the special election in New York is a whole bunch of women saying, oh, wait, no, I'm going to use my voice because the only power I have left is my voice.
So speaking of, you talk about post-Dobbs and how this has really inspired women to mobilize, and obviously abortion is going to be a huge issue in the midterms. But how do you also inspire those same women knowing that we have a 6-3 Supreme Court for the foreseeable future that is going to be making decisions that are antithetical to a lot of women's issues and to a lot of issues that affect American families? How do you keep that inspiration going?
I think it's a good moment to tell women, look at Michigan, look at what your state Supreme Court can do, look at what your governor can do, look at what your state AG can do, that local elections are going to matter now more than they have ever mattered before, and that in states where this is quite literally on the ballot, in Michigan it's on a referendum, that the time now is to bolster rights within your home states and also to recognize, unfortunately, that the 6-3 supermajority at the court is not a surprise. This has been an effort that's taken years to put into place, and that we have to focus on the courts, all the Article 3 courts, but certainly the Supreme Court, and think seriously about structural court reform.
Dahlia, you focus on some trailblazing women who practice law for the greater good in your book. Can you talk about the woman who headed the refugee rights organization in the aftermath of Donald Trump's Muslim ban? Because I think we forget that moment because it seems so long ago, but it was a horrible moment where Muslim Americans were being barred from entering their country.
I love the story. This is Becca Heller, and she's, I think, the youngest attorney I feature in the book. And she's the one who literally doesn't refer to herself as attorney because she still thinks that she's in law school when she kind of takes the helm of what I call the airport revolution, is getting lawyers at every single airport on the day that the travel ban passes. She's the one who understands that these folks who have legitimate visas, they are entitled to be here. They got on planes, they sold everything they had, and they came to the country believing that they were going to be legitimately allowed in. And suddenly, with the stroke of the pen, the travel ban passes and they have nowhere to go and no attorneys. And she helped mobilize this army of lawyers across the country, disproportionately women, who show up at airports, they hold up signs, they say, I will be your attorney, they file briefs pro se. To me, it's an amazing story, not just of leadership, of Becca just trusting her gut that this had to happen and she wasn't going to workshop it. It was also a moment where lawyers across the country, right, we're the butt of a lot of jokes, but lawyers across the country, tax attorneys and probate attorneys, show up and say, I'm here for these refugees, I'm going to help them get into the country. For me, it's an inflection point where we realize yet again that the law is the thing that can either hurt vulnerable people or save them. And I think Becca was a real visionary about that.
The new book is entitled Lady Justice, Women, the Law, and the Battle to Save America. Senior legal correspondent at Slate, Dahlia Lithwick, thank you so much. Congratulations on the book. Good to have you on.